Hello, and thank you for tuning into this week's Mayor's Update. As always, we have a lot of important information to share with you here this week, so please feel free to share this video with your friends, family, relatives, and anyone else you think might find this information helpful over the course of the coming week. At this last week's City Council meeting, the City Council did vote to approve a single tax rate, with the tax rate being set at $16.16. If you'll remember, back in the July and August timeframe, the city sent out a letter to every residence and business owner in the city talking about the anomaly we had this year due to the requirements of Proposition 2.5 and the different other laws that govern how local taxation works, that the high values had to kick in at the beginning of the fiscal year on July 1st, but we couldn't reduce the tax rate from the $18.59 until just now. What this resulted in is that the average single-family home in Gardner right now is valued at approximately $286,000. With the old tax rate, your first and second quarter bill for the average homeowner in Gardner was approximately $1,300. With this new rate, that bill is actually going to drop to $951 per quarter. So you should see an immediate approximate $414 savings on the tax bills that you will be getting for January and April for the third and fourth quarter of this fiscal year. If you have any questions on the process for the tax billing system that we have, what the tax rate means to you, what your home is valued at, what qualified sales went into setting those valuations, you can contact my office or the city assessor's office at any time, and we'll be happy to get all of that information to you there. The way valuations work in the city, and actually statewide per these laws, is that sales from 2 years ago, so in 2021, and they had to be arm's length sales. It could not be an internal sale or selling from one arm of an LLC to another arm of an LLC. It had to be a full arm's length sales for certain types of properties. So capes to capes, colonials to colonials, splits to splits, things of that nature. All of those qualified sales, the addresses of those sales and the amount of those sales that went through are actually posted on the city assessor's website as well, so you can see all of that information that's there. So again, any questions on any of that process that's there, you can contact my office at any time. But again, due to us being able to finally legally make that correction, you should actually see a reduction in your tax bill for the next 2 quarters. And again, for the average single family home in Gardner, it equals about a $414 savings. So hopefully that will be helpful this time of year, especially with everything else going on with terms of inflation, the economy, and everything going on in the world. So thank you very much to the City Council, to our City Assessor, Christine Kumar, and to everyone for their really teamwork throughout this process to make sure we could finish this and close out the last fiscal year and head forward into the next year that we're going into and already planning for the next fiscal year. The City Council also voted to approve funding to install new traffic sensor lights at the intersections of Dyer and Timpani Boulevard and East Broadway, and Willow and Main Street. What these sensors are these camera-looking devices that go on top of the poles that do not take any pictures. They don't record anything. It's not to try to catch someone running a red light. It's simply to tell the lights whether or not a car is parked at a red light so that it can switch through and cycle the lights from red to green on a more timely basis. Without those camera systems, we're operating on a static timer system that every so often, that's when the lights will rotate between colors. However, with these new traffic system, signal systems, you'll be able to get through those lights quicker so that if there is a car on one intersection, the light will turn green rather than having to wait for a road that no cars are waiting at. So it just makes the traffic flow a lot more efficient and effective for what people are doing there. So thank you very much to the City Council for approving that measure. The City Council also did vote to create a charter review committee. This is a committee of 5 individuals, 3 appointed by myself, 2 appointed by the council president. All have to be confirmed by a 2/3 vote of the City Council to just review the existing city charter as it is and see what's working, what's not, and make any suggestions on what could be made to improve the document. The document is 100 years old next year. It's been amended 3 times in our city's history, but there's a lot in there that is currently in conflict with existing state law, so legally the city cannot follow those sections of the city charter. So that on top of just general operations and hard dollar numbers that are put in a document that was written 100 years ago, the $1,000 limits that are listed in the city charter, $1,000 in 1923 is going to be a lot different than $1,000 in 2023. So again, just seeing what's working with the times, what's currently in conflict with state law and things of that nature, and making those recommendations. Any recommendations that committee puts forward then has to be voted and approved by the city council. So nothing makes it through without the city council reviewing those suggestions made by the committee. But even after the city council, it goes to the ballot in a local election if the city council approves it. So there's several different versions of checks and balances that are all throughout this process here, and we're way at the start before anything is even remotely considered. So if you have any questions on that charter review process as well for the city charter, which is the city's version of our constitution, you can certainly call my office at any time. This is something that's really unique to every 351 communities in Massachusetts, in that we all have our own unique charters. Some towns, especially the smaller towns, don't have a charter and operate solely off of state law. Those that do have a charter, like Gardner, it really depends on the community. Some have a revision requirement every 10 years where a committee has to be formed to make sure that every 10 years something's going on. Some don't, like Gardner, and we just go as needed there. And that seems to be working fine, but again, it's always good to at least check to make sure that something written 100 years ago is still working to meet the needs of what we're seeing right now in Gardner. So we'll be announcing those committee appointments for the next city council meeting for them to consider through their appointment committee process. Council President Kaczynskis and I have met and decided to set the date for the biannual State of the City address. This is an address similar to the State of the Union or the State of the Commonwealth address that the President or the Governor gives every 2 years. The Mayor in Gardner every 2 years since 1923 has always given a State of the City address to the City Council. This will be done on Tuesday, January 10th at 7 p.m. here at Gardner City Hall. More information on the event itself will be released as that comes closer to us. But again, Tuesday, January 10th at 7 p.m. will be the biennial State of the City address, where I'll be updating the City Council on everything that's going on in the city and some plans that we have for the upcoming year. This past week, we had a fun event over at Gardner High School to launch the new fitness court that was over there. This was something that was installed in partnership with a grant with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, and utilizing some of our ARPA funds that we received from the federal government through the American Rescue Plan with Congresswoman Trahan's office. This is a brand new fitness court that's got several different lanes in it for different types of exercises, from cardio to core to strength training to conditioning. There's an app that you can install specifically for this court that'll teach you how to use all of the things there, but there's also instructional material at the site itself. This is fully open to the public. So if you are interested in using it, feel free to go ahead. Our gym classes are going to be using it as well. I'm really excited to see how this can help benefit the community in the long run there. So any questions at all on how the court can be used can be found on the court itself, but any questions on how the court came to be and how this process started, you can always contact my office, and we'll be happy to actually tell you the really neat interactions that we had along the way connecting with Blue Cross and getting this as an approved project here in Gardner. We're one of 15 of these fitness courts in Massachusetts, so it's great to see Gardner be able to really take this project and run with it, or exercise with it, I guess, in this fashion. But thank you very much to Congresswoman Trahan's office, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, the National Fitness Campaign, and everyone else who was involved. Lastly, we just want to give people a heads up that on Thursday, December 22nd, we're going to have a magical Christmas night here. I believe we're going to be calling it the main event, but the final name will be solidified this next week. But the horse-drawn carriage from Triple T Family Farm will be back here in Gardner to do nighttime Christmas light tours around the downtown, starting at Monument Park, throughout the downtown with Lafayette Square, Gardner City Hall, in front of Priscilla's, in front of Bullnose Park, just as a nice ride around the downtown right before the Christmas holiday. So keep an eye out for that, because there'll be more details to come on what stores are also going to be participating in specials that night and things of that nature, just to boost a little more Christmas spirit right before Christmas Day here in Gardner. But that concludes this week's update. As always, if you have any questions on any of the information said, call my office at any time. We'll be happy to talk to you, and I look forward to speaking with you again next week. Thank you very much, and have a great day.